Welcome. Take a moment before we begin to settle into wherever you are. Let your shoulders drop just a little. Let the weight of your head rest fully into whatever is holding it. There is nowhere else you need to be. Nothing else you need to attend to. The world beyond this listening can wait, patiently, kindly, for as long as you need. Tonight, you are going to drift, slowly, gently, the way a balloon drifts across an evening sky. You are going to visit a very small, very quiet place, a museum that lives inside a gondola, a museum devoted to feathers. Nothing will hurry. Nothing will startle. You may follow along for a while, and then, when you are ready, you may let the words become soft and blurred and finally fall away entirely. That is the point. That is the whole point. Before we step aboard, take one long breath in through your nose and let it out slowly through slightly parted lips. Again, in slowly, out slowly. And once more, a breath so slow it feels almost like the tide, drawing in and drawing out. Good. Now imagine, if you like, that your body is growing just a little heavier. Not tired exactly, just heavier. As if each part of you is being tenderly lowered into place. Your feet, heavy. Your legs, heavy. Your hands, heavy where they rest. Your jaw, softening. Your forehead, smoothing. And behind your eyes, a warm, quiet dark, like the inside of a wool blanket folded 3 times. In this warm, quiet dark, a picture begins to form. There's a soft light, honey-colored. There's the smell of cedar and beeswax. There's the whisper of something very light shifting under glass. And there is, high above a scattering of islands, a balloon. You are stepping aboard. The gondola is not large. It is a long oval room of pale, oiled wood, with a low ceiling of dark beams and a floor of narrow planks worn smooth by patient feet. Around you, along both curving walls, stand rows of glass cabinets, vitrines they would be called, each one lit softly from within, each one containing feathers. Only feathers, nothing else. Feathers pinned in gentle arcs, feathers laid loose on dark velvet, feathers standing upright in tiny brass holders, feathers arranged like the pages of a book that has just been opened. The light inside each case is the color of a candle seen through vellum, a warm, forgiving light, the kind that does not press against your eyes, but rather leans against them, softly. You breathe in. There's cedar, first of all, warm cedar from the cabinet wood, and beeswax from a polish that has been rubbed into the joinery for years and years. And beneath these, more subtle, more distant, there's lavender. Not sharp lavender, not perfumed lavender. The lavender of a linen sachet that has been kept in a drawer for a long, long time. Quiet, dry, and patient. The balloon itself is somewhere above and around you, though you cannot see it from where you stand. You can feel it, though. You can feel the very slight, very slow sway. A movement so gentle that if you tried to describe it, you might reach only for words like breathing, or floating, or the way a leaf turns over in still water. That gentle, that slow. Above the roofline, a pilot flame hisses softly, a small blue tongue of warmth, kept trimmed and low, sighing its patient, papery hiss. You hardly hear it. It is more texture than a sound. It is the sound the room makes while thinking. Somewhere, far below, there is the archipelago. You cannot see it yet. The observation shutters along the lower walls are only half open. An afternoon light slants in soft, pale bars, but you know it is there. Small islands, green and gray and gold, scattered across a wide, flat sea. some of them holding a lighthouse, some a single roof, some only trees. The balloon drifts across them at the speed of an idle thought. A gull calls, very far away. The sound is softened by altitude, thinned like cloth washed 1,000 times. It arrives at your ear as a gentle brushstroke, and then it is gone. From the far end of the gondola, you hear a small, careful sound, a soft chink of something small against something small, pebble against brass. Then a pause, then a whisper of cloth, then another chink. The tuner is at work. She is a woman of no particular age. The age of someone who has been doing the same quiet thing for so long that hurry has fallen off her like an old coat. Her hair is the color of dry straw and pinned up loosely with a wooden comb. She wears an apron of soft, undyed linen with many small pockets, and each pocket, if you were to look, contains something modest and useful. A folded cloth, a badger hairbrush, a little linen sachet of lavender, a handful of river pebbles smoothed by years of water. Around her neck, on a very fine chain, hangs a tiny brass level, no larger than a walnut, with a bubble of green oil sleeping inside it. She does not look up when you come in, not because she is unfriendly. She is, in fact, very kind, but because looking up would disturb the trim of the gondola, and there has just been an eastern breeze, and the balance of the room is still resettling. She lifts a small pebble wrapped in linen. She weighs it against another. She sets one down. She lifts a third. She listens with her whole body to how the floor beneath her feet feels. You watch her, and you do not disturb her. You have learned, without being told, that in this place, things happen at their own pace, and the best thing you can do is match it. You take a step forward. Just one. The plank beneath your foot is soft with years of use. There's no creak. The tuner has looked after every board. Only a small, contented settling of wood accepting weight. The first vitrine before you is labeled in careful, sloping handwriting on a card of yellowed paper. The card reads, simply, Heron, down, eastern shore of the third island, autumn. Inside the vitrine, arranged in a soft gray cloud, is a small drift of heron down. Not the long flight feathers, not the elegant plumes, just the underdown, the soft chest fluff a heron sheds when the year begins to cool. It looks like the breath of a cloud. It looks like something that a whisper might be made of. As you watch, the down shifts ever so slightly. A single filament rises, hangs, drifts, and settles again. Perhaps the balloon has tilted by a hair. Perhaps the tuner is adjusting things. Perhaps it is simply the way heron down remembers, even under glass, that it once floated. You move on. The next vitrine is longer. Its label reads, Starling, Iridescent shoulder, late spring, West Cove, gifted. Inside, a row of small, dark feathers is pinned in an arc, each one glossy and full of hidden color. When you tip your head, the feathers turn green. When you tip your head the other way, they turn purple, then oil blue, then something like bronze. They are simple feathers, humble feathers, and yet inside them, when the light touches them just so, is every color the sky forgets to keep. You could stand here a long time, and you do, and no one hurries you. From the far end of the gondola, the tuner speaks, softly, half to herself, half to the balloon, half, perhaps, to you. She is describing the heron. She says, This one came from a marsh at the eastern shore of the third island at the beginning of autumn. She says, It was a still morning, and the reeds had just begun to yellow. and one heron had waded out to the shallows and left this down at the water's edge. She says, "It took no more than a handful of feathers to fill the case, and each one," she says, "is lighter than a breath." You listen without needing to reply. She does not need a reply. She is narrating the way a river narrates, quietly, continuously, meaning nothing in particular, but soothing everything it passes. You realize, gradually, that there is one other visitor here, an old man. He stands at the far vitrine, hands clasped behind his back, wearing a coat the color of moss, and a soft cap he has not removed. He is looking very attentively at a case of small brown feathers you cannot quite make out from where you are. He does not turn. He does not speak. He came aboard, you understand somehow, at the last Tether-Post, on the last island, and he will disembark at the next one, whenever the balloon drifts near. In between, he is here, moving from case to case in his own slow orbit. He and you and the tuner make 3. That is the whole population of the balloon this afternoon. 3 quiet people, and a great many feathers, and a warm, patient light. Now the tuner rises and moves, and you move too, drifting further along the row of cabinets. You pass a case of wren feathers, tiny, striped, no larger than your thumbnail. You pass a case labeled owl, facial disc, molted, winter, north woods. Inside, arranged like the petals of a strange gray flower, are the small, soft feathers that once framed an owl's face. You pass a case of pale gull primaries, long and stiff and honest, arranged in a fan. Every case is lit from within by a small brass lamp with a shade of thin vellum. The vellum is the color of very old honey. It softens everything. You could look at these lights all night and not tire of them. They are the lights of a room that has forgiven you for arriving late. The floor gives the slightest shift beneath your feet, only the very slightest. The balloon has responded to something, a change in the air, a cooling somewhere below, and the tuner is already moving. She crosses the room with the unhurried grace of a heron herself. From her apron pocket, she draws a small linen sachet, tied with a length of undyed thread. Inside, you know, are 3 river pebbles and a pinch of dried lavender. She weighs the sachet in her palm. She listens with her feet. She kneels beside a low shelf beneath the heron case, where a small brass rail runs along the wall, and she clips the sachet to a chain that hangs there, a chain of counterweights, each one no larger than a plum, some of pebble and lavender, some of pebble and cedar shavings, some of pebble and only pebble. The chains hang all around the room, at ankle height, at knee height, at shoulder height, along both sides. There are dozens of them, and with each tiny sachet added or removed or slid along its chain, the balloon adjusts itself, and the gondola holds level, and the feathers under their glass do not so much as shiver. You had not noticed the chains at first. Now that you have, you cannot unsee them. They are everywhere, quietly at work, keeping the whole small world in balance. The brass is cool and dull and old. Each link has been touched 1,000 times. Each link is a decision to hold this feather still, this room level, this afternoon quiet. The tuner stands, brushes her palms on her apron, and moves along. She speaks again, softly, half to herself. 3 pebbles for the heron, she says. 3 pebbles for the heron, and a pinch of lavender against the damp. There we are. There we are. You continue your slow drift along the cabinets. The next case you come to holds feathers you do not recognize by name. Their label reads, Little Grebe, Flank Feathers, Found Floating, Summer, Second Island Lagoon. The feathers themselves are the softest brown, edged in cream, and arranged in a small pool, as if they were still resting on quiet water. You lean in. Under the glass, the feathers seem to breathe. It is only the light shifting, or the balloon settling, but they seem to breathe. You lean in further, and you can smell, faintly, through the tiny brass grill at the base of the vitrine, the smell of cedar. The cases are lined, you realize, with thin sheets of cedar wood to keep the feathers from taking on damp, from harboring anything unkind. Cedar and beeswax, and always, always, the whisper of feather beneath glass. You straighten. You breathe. You feel, gently, the slow sway of the gondola. Somewhere, above the roof, the pilot flame gives its patient hiss. Somewhere, far below, a gull, tiny with distance, calls once, and once again, and is gone. The old man has moved. He is now standing in front of a case at the middle of the room, hands still clasped behind his back. You cannot see his face, only his coat and his cap, and the quiet way he stands. You have the impression that he is not new here, that he has been aboard before, many times, over many years, that certain feathers here were even, perhaps, brought aboard by him. But there is no way to know, and there is no need to ask, and you do not. The tuner passes near you. She smells of lavender and clean linen. She nods once, without stopping, and moves to the middle of the room, where a long, low table stands. On the table are the tools of her craft, a small brass scale, no larger than a teacup, with a needle so fine you can barely see it, a shallow wooden tray of river-pebbles, sorted by size, a row of small linen sachets, empty, waiting to be filled, a little glass jar of dried lavender flowers, a stoppered bottle of cedar oil, a folded cloth of soft chamois, a badger hairbrush with a handle of pale wood, worn smooth in the middle, where her fingers have held it for years. She takes up the badger hairbrush. She moves to the case of starling feathers, the ones that turn green and purple and bronze when the light meets them just so. She lifts the top of the vitrine on its small brass hinges, carefully, so that no air moves within too quickly. The feathers do not stir. She holds the brush a hand's width above them, and without touching, she coaxes the dust from the surrounding wood. A gentle motion, back and back and back, and the dust, so fine you cannot see it, drifts away into the honey-colored air. She hums as she works. Not a tune, exactly. A low, warm sound in her throat, the way a person hums when they have forgotten they are humming. It is a sound like a small stove in a small kitchen. It is a sound like sleep beginning to gather in the corners of a room. You listen to the hum. You listen to the pilot flame's papery hiss. You listen to the whisper of the feathers under glass, and you feel yourself soften, the way a piece of clay softens in a warm hand. She closes the case, gently, and moves on. You move on too, in your own slow drift. The next vitrine you come to is different from the others. It is smaller, and its label is only 3 words: unknown, gifted, winter. Inside is a single feather, long, pale, curved slightly, the color of morning. Nothing else. No neighbors, no arrangement. Just the one feather, resting on a bed of dark cloth, as if it had been laid down there and forgotten to move. You could stand in front of this case for a long time. Its stillness is a kind of company. The feather does not need to be named, or placed, or explained. It is here, It has been given. It rests. The tuner, passing behind you, says quietly that one came aboard on a very cold morning many years ago, tied with a red thread to the tether line, with no note. She says, "We have never been sure what it is." She says, "We have decided not to mind." And she moves on. You breathe. You look once more at the single pale feather, and you move on too. The afternoon is deepening now. The light slanting in through the half-open observation shutters has turned from pale gold to a warmer, deeper gold. The color of tea steeped a long time, the color of the last hour before evening. It lays itself in long, soft bars across the plank floor. It touches the brass rails. It warms the cedar. It picks out, here and there, the very tips of feathers under glass, and makes them, for a moment, seem to glow from within. You cross to one of the shutters, and you look out. Below you, the archipelago. From this altitude, it is a scatter of small green islands on a wide, flat, quiet sea. Some are round, some are long, some are only a rock with a single tree. Between them, the water is very still. It holds the color of the sky. Here and there, a fishing boat, no bigger than a grain of rice, draws a slow white thread behind it. The thread persists a long time before the water forgets it. Nothing moves quickly down there. Everything is being done at the pace at which it can be done well. A boat noses toward a harbor. A gull tilts. A cloud, blue-shadowed, rests on the sea like a dropped feather. You watch for a long time. Behind you, the tuner continues her rounds. Chink, chink. A pebble against brass. A sachet lifted, weighed, resettled. She murmurs to the balloon. She murmurs to the feathers. She murmurs, perhaps, to you. It is all the same murmur. She is at the little brass cups now. You turn and watch. Along the rails at the sides of the room, at intervals, are small brass cups, no larger than a thimble, each one containing a fine, pale sand. The sand, you understand, is another tool of the trim. In the coolest hours of morning, the sand contracts. In the warmest hours of noon, it expands. And by the mass of these tiny amounts, distributed all along the rails, the tuner can nudge the balance of the whole room by increments smaller than a breath. She carries with her a small leather pouch of sand and a tiny brass spoon, and she moves cup by cup, adding a spoonful here, taking one from there, tapping the rim so the sand settles evenly. Her attention is complete. Her hands are steady. She has, you feel, done this exact task perhaps 10,000 times. You could watch her forever. The old man has moved again. He is now at the case of grape feathers, the ones that seem to rest on quiet water. He leans in, just slightly. His breath does not fog the glass. He has learned, long ago, how to stand near feathers without exhaling toward them. He looks. He looks. He nods once, very slowly, as if agreeing with something the feathers have said. Then he straightens, and he moves on, to the next case, and the next. The balloon sways ever so slightly, and the tuner adjusts ever so slightly, and the world holds. You return to the middle of the room, to the long, low table, where her tools are laid. You do not touch anything. You only look. The small brass scale, with its fine needle. The tray of river-pebbles, sorted by size. The smallest no larger than a lentil, the largest the size of a robin's egg. The row of empty linen sachets. The jar of dried lavender, its purple faded to a soft, dusty gray-blue. The stoppered bottle of cedar oil. The folded chamois cloth. The badger hairbrush. Beside these, in a shallow wooden bowl, are the day's findings. Small things the tuner has picked up during her rounds. A fragment of thread, a crumb of dried leaf that must have blown in through a shutter, a pebble that has escaped a sachet somewhere, a single tiny brown feather, no longer than an eyelash, that must have drifted free from a case during the last cleaning. She will attend to each of these in time, at her own pace, without any hurry at all. Above the table, on a thin brass rail, hang the reading lamps. There are 3 of them. They're lit, but low, their wicks trimmed short, their vellum shades warm, and they cast a small pool of honey-colored light over her workspace. You look up at them. You breathe. You feel once more the slow rocking of the gondola, and hear once more the papery hiss of the pilot flame far above. The tuner returns to the table. She sets down the leather pouch of sand. She lifts the badger hairbrush and lays it carefully in its place. She unties her apron just a little, loosens it at the neck, and rolls her shoulders once. A small, contented movement, the movement of someone whose work is going well. Then she takes up a small kettle from a corner shelf, and she moves to the pilot flame's small companion, a tiny brass burner, no bigger than a saucer, set into the counter near the middle of the room. She sets the kettle on it. She strikes no match, adjusts no dial that you can see. The burner simply warms, quietly and obediently. Steam begins in time to rise from the kettle's spout in a slow, thin ribbon. She takes down 2 small clay cups, not 3, 2. She glances toward the old man, and he, without turning, nods once. The slow nod of someone who has expected this for a long time. She takes down a 3rd cup, then, and sets all 3 on a small tray. She pours hot water into a small round pot. She adds, from a wooden tin, a spoonful of something dry, leaves and small dried flowers, and perhaps a curl of something citrus. The smell that rises is warm and mild, chamomile maybe, and rose hip, and a touch of something like honey, though no honey has been added. She waits, without watching, while it steeps. She has waited for a great many kettles. You realize, with a small, quiet pleasure, that she is including you. She pours the tea into the 3 cups. She sets one on the counter for the old man and moves it toward him without disturbing his slow orbit around the cabinets. She sets one on the counter near where you have been standing. She keeps one for herself. The tea in your cup is a pale gold brown. Steam lifts from it in a fine, slow spiral. You lift the cup. The clay is warm against your palms. You breathe in the mild steam. You do not sip yet. You only breathe. Warm and floral and slightly grassy and slightly sweet and gentle, gentle, gentle. You sip. It is exactly as warm as tea should be. Warm enough to soothe, not so warm that it startles. The taste is soft. You cannot pick out any single flower. You do not need to. The tuner sips from her own cup, standing at her table, looking not quite at anything. The old man sips from his, at the far end of the room, still looking at the feathers. No one speaks. The pilot flame hisses softly overhead. The feathers whisper, faintly, beneath their glass. The chains of counterweights hang, cool and patient, along the walls. You take another sip. You feel the warmth travel down into your chest and settle there, like a small stove being lit in a small kitchen. The light through the shutters has deepened further. It is no longer the color of tea steeped a long time. It is now the color of amber. The bars it lays across the floor are wider and softer. The cabinets glow. The brass rails glow. The tuner's straw-colored hair glows, where the light catches the strands escaping from her wooden comb. She sets down her cup, half full, and moves to the shutters. One by one, she folds them halfway. Not all the way closed, never all the way closed, not yet, but halfway, so that the room begins to gather its own honey-colored light and hold it. The bars of outer light narrow. The interior lamps begin, gently, to matter more. You watch her fold each shutter. Each one gives a soft wooden sound as it settles into its bracket, a small snick of latch, a small breath of moved air, nothing loud, nothing rushed. When she is finished, she stands at the center of the room and looks around. She listens. She lowers her head slightly and lets her feet feel the floor. She adjusts from her apron pocket one small sachet along a chain near her knee, 2 pebbles, and lavender. The balloon settles by a hair. Then she moves to the reading lamps above her table. She lowers each one in turn on its small brass chain. Not all the way. The room must remain a place of gentle seeing, but lower, closer to the tabletop, so that the light gathers there and softens everywhere else. The corners of the room grow dimmer. The vitrines, still lit softly from within, become the brightest points in the gondola, small, warm islands of honey light, and everything else falls into a low, kind dusk. She moves to the 2 other reading lamps at either end of the room and lowers them too. The old man is now a soft silhouette in the warm dim. He is at the case of the single pale feather, the unknown, gifted winter feather. He stands there a long time. You return to your cup of tea. It is still warm. You sip. You breathe. The balloon shifts, ever so slightly, downward. You feel it not as a fall, but as a settling, like a body lowering itself into a bed. The air, you understand, is beginning to cool below, and the balloon is beginning to descend, slowly, patiently, as it does each evening, to its overnight altitude, where it will hover, gently tethered by nothing but its own weight and warmth, above the sleeping archipelago. The tuner attends to this descent with quiet motions along the counterweight chains. A sachet moved by the length of one link, another sachet added, another lifted away, a spoonful of sand from one brass cup added to the next. She murmurs to the balloon, softly, encouragingly, the way a person might murmur to a horse being groomed at the end of a long day. There, she says. There we are. Softly, softly. Down we come. Down we come. You feel the gondola settle. This way slows. This way slows. Somewhere below, the sea is turning from silver to blue, and from blue to a deeper blue, and from that deeper blue to a color that is nearly, but not quite, black. You cross to one of the half-closed shutters and look out. The archipelago has changed. The islands are darker now and smaller with distance, and here and there, on their darkening shapes, small amber pinpricks have begun to appear. Windows, lanterns, a harbor light, someone lighting a stove, someone setting a candle in a window. From this altitude, each pinprick is no larger than the point of a needle. There are perhaps 20 of them across the whole scatter of islands. They are the color of the reading lamps inside the gondola. They are the color of the vellum shades. They are the color of the tea in your cup. You have the strong, quiet impression that the balloon and the islands are lit by the same light, a single warm honey color, distributed generously across the evening. You watch the amber pinpricks. You watch them for a long time. One appears softly where none was before. Then another. Then another. no one is hurrying to light their lamps. Each lamp is lit at the pace of the person lighting it. Behind you, the tuner is checking the trim one last time. Chink, chink. The soft weighing of a sachet in a palm. The soft settling of pebbles against brass. The gentle hum in her throat, so quiet it might almost be the pilot flame itself. The old man has moved to the shutters near his end of the room. He is looking out as you are looking out. In the deep dim of the gondola, he is only a soft, dark shape. A coat and a cap and a stillness. He, too, is watching the amber pinpricks appear. Perhaps he is counting them. Perhaps he is not. Perhaps he knows which pinprick belongs to which window, on which island. Perhaps one of them is his. Perhaps that is where he will go, when the balloon eventually sighs its way down to a tether-post. Tomorrow, or the day after, or the day after that. You do not need to know. You return to the low table. Your cup is still warm, though less so. You sip. The tea has settled into something even milder, something almost like warm water with a memory of flowers in it. You breathe. You feel the honey light on your eyelids. You feel the warm cedar in your lungs. You feel the papery hiss of the pilot flame far above, as familiar now as your own breathing. The tuner comes to the table. She takes up her cup. She sips. She looks at the room, slowly, from one end to the other, checking. Everything is in its place. Every feather is at rest. Every counterweight is settled. Every brass cup of sand is level with itself. Every vitrine glows its patient honey glow. The observation shutters are folded halfway. The reading lamps are lowered. The pilot flame is trimmed to its overnight low. She nods once to the room. The room, in its way, nods back. She sets her cup down. She takes off her apron, slowly, and hangs it on a wooden peg near the table. In its many small pockets, the folded cloth, the badger hairbrush, the linen sachets, the pebbles, all rest against one another with small, dry, contented sounds. The apron settles against the wall. She rolls her shoulders once, again. She unpins her hair, and it falls, straw-colored and softly wavy, to just past her shoulders. She combs it back with her fingers, once, twice, and lets it be. She moves through the room, and at each vitrine, she pauses, and she says something soft and small to the feathers within. To the heron down, she says, "Good night." To the starling shoulders, she says, "Good night." To the wrens, and the owls, and the gulls, and the grabe, and the single pale, unknown, gifted winter feather, she says, "Good night, good night, good night." It is not sentimental. It is only her way of closing the day. She does not turn off the vitrine lamps. They will remain low all night, glowing their patient honey, keeping the feathers company. She only trims each one with a tiny brass tool, so that its wick is even lower still. The room grows dimmer, dimmer, kinder, kinder. You watch her trim the last lamp, and step back, and stand for a moment in the middle of the room, and let the whole gentle dim settle around her. She looks toward you, at last, and gives the smallest smile. It is not a smile that asks anything of you. It is only the smile of a person who is pleased to have shared a quiet afternoon with a quiet stranger. You return it, or you do not. It does not matter. She turns away. She crosses to the old man, still at the shutters, and she stands beside him for a while, not speaking. He does not speak either. They watch the amber pinpricks together. Then he, too, gives a small nod, and turns from the window and moves to a low bench along the wall and sits and rests his hands in his lap and closes his eyes. He is going to sleep on the bench, you understand. He has done this many times before. The balloon has a small folded blanket ready for him on a shelf above the bench, and the tuner will drape it over him in a little while without waking him. He will disembark at the next Tether-Post, whenever that is. Until then, he rests. You feel your own body settling. Your shoulders are heavy. Your jaw is soft. Your eyelids are warm and comfortable. The tea in your cup has gone from warm to only a little warm. You set it down. You breathe. The tuner moves to her own corner of the room, a small alcove behind a folded cloth screen, where, you sense rather than see, there's a low bed and a woolen blanket, and a small shelf with a book and a candle. She does not go behind the screen yet. She stands for a while at the middle of the gondola, watching the room breathe. The balloon has completed its slow descent. It hangs now at its overnight altitude, high enough that no wind troubles it, low enough that the scattered amber pinpricks of the archipelago below feel like a companion set of small lamps. Between the gondola's vitrines within and the island's windows without, honey light meets honey light across the evening air. The pilot flame gives its papery hiss. The feathers whisper faintly beneath their glass. The counterweight chains hang cool and quiet along the walls. The brass cups of sand rest level with themselves. Everything is where it belongs. You breathe in. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the faintest sweetness of tea, the faintest hum of the tuner. So quiet now, it is almost not a sound at all. You breathe out. Slowly, slowly. The tuner drapes the folded blanket over the old man on his bench. He does not stir. She moves to the pilot flame's small companion burner and turns it gently until it sighs and cools. She glances once at her table, at her tools laid neatly in their places, at her apron on its peg. She glances once at the row of vitrines, each glowing its low, patient honey. She glances at you, not to ask anything, only to say, in that glance, that you are welcome to stay as long as you need, that the balloon does not close exactly, that it only softens and lowers its lights and folds its shutters halfway and drifts gently through the night and waits for morning. You nod without nodding, and she moves behind her screen. You find, without deciding, that you have moved to a low bench of your own along the opposite wall. There's a small folded blanket on the shelf above it. You reach up. It is soft and undyed and smells faintly, faintly of lavender and cedar. You draw it over yourself. You breathe. Beneath you, the plank floor is warm from a long day of afternoon light. Above you, the low, dark beams. Around you, the vitrines, glowing honey. Below the vitrines, the counterweight chains, cool and patient. Beyond the shutters, half folded, the amber pinpricks of the archipelago. Above the roofline, the balloon, and the trimmed pilot flame, and the wide, wide, quiet evening sky. You feel yourself growing heavier, not tired exactly, just heavier, the kind of heavy that a body becomes when it has finally been allowed to rest. Your feet, heavy. Your legs, heavy. Your hands, heavy where they rest on the blanket. Your jaw, soft. Your forehead, smooth. Your eyes, closed or nearly closed, and warm behind the lids. The pilot flame hisses softly. The feathers whisper faintly beneath their glass. The counterweight chains rest, cool and quiet, along the walls. The brass cups of sand are level. The gondola sways so slowly, so gently, that it is barely a sway at all. More like a breath. More like a breath. You breathe in cedar, beeswax, lavender. You breathe out, slowly, slowly. Somewhere very far below, a gull calls, thinned by distance, softened by altitude, and does not call again. Somewhere on an island, a lamp is lit. Somewhere on another island, a lamp is put out. The balloon drifts gently above them all. The tuner, behind her screen, has settled. Her small candle flickers once and steadies. The old man, on his bench, breathes evenly beneath his blanket. The single pale, unknown, gifted winter feather rests in its case, on its dark cloth, needing nothing. You breathe in, you breathe out. The honey light rests softly on your closed eyes. There's nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to be. The balloon will hold. The tuner will attend to the trim in small, quiet motions all through the night, and you do not need to notice. The feathers will rest under their glass. The islands below will keep their small amber lights, or let them go at their own pace. Everything is where it belongs. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the soft hiss of the pilot flame, the whisper of feathers, the honey-colored light. You are heavy. You are warm. You are held. You breathe in and out. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the whisper of feathers, under glass, the honey-colored light, the slow, slow sway. Sleep now. Sleep now. The balloon will hold, and the tuner will tune, and the feathers will rest, and you will rest, and rest, and rest. The gondola sways so softly that it might not be swaying at all. It might only be the world breathing around you. In and out. In and out. You do not need to open your eyes. You know the room. You know the small brass lamps in their brackets, the honey-colored glass, the polished wood, the color of dark tea. You know the tuner, small and patient, behind her paper screen. You know the old man, wrapped in his soft gray blanket, breathing evenly on his bench. You know the case of feathers, and the single pale winter feather resting on its dark cloth. You know all of this without looking. The room holds itself. The balloon holds itself. The sky holds the balloon. Somewhere, very far below, the sea is dark and quiet. Somewhere, very far above, the stars are settling into their old, patient places. The balloon drifts between them, gently, gently, needing nothing. A small sound reaches you. A soft chime, no louder than a breath. One of the tuner's little bells, brushed by a passing draft. It rings once. It fades. It does not ring again for a long time. You breathe in. Cedar, beeswax, lavender. You breathe out. Slowly, slowly. The honey-colored light drifts across your closed eyes, warm as a hand held above a candle. Not touching. Just warm. Just near. Somewhere, on the far side of the gondola, the tuner shifts a pebble from one brass cup to another. The cups are level again. They were level before. They will be level again in a little while, when she moves another pebble, so softly that it does not disturb the air. You do not need to know how she does it. You do not need to understand the balance. The balance holds. That is enough. That has always been enough. The old man snores once, so quietly it is almost a hum. Then his breath settles again into its long, even rhythm. In and out. In and out. You match your breath to his without meaning to. In and out. The gondola rocks gently in time. Below, an island passes. You do not see it. You only sense it, the way you sense a room in the dark. a small, warm shape far below, with one small amber lamp still lit in one small window. Someone is awake down there, tending a kettle or turning the last page of a book. Someone is falling asleep down there, letting the page close on its own. The balloon drifts on. The island slips behind. Another island, dark and sleeping, passes without a lamp. Then only water, wide and dark and slow. You breathe in, you breathe out. The tuner opens a small drawer, so quietly it makes almost no sound. She takes out a soft cloth. She wipes a single lamp bracket, once, twice, and puts the cloth back. The lamp burns a little clearer. The honey-colored light warms by the smallest possible amount. You do not notice the change. You only feel, without knowing, that the room is a little kinder than before. Everything here is like this. Small kindnesses, quietly done. Nothing announced. Nothing asked for. Only the slow, gentle work of keeping a small, warm room afloat above a wide and patient sea. You do not have to help. You are the guest. You are the one who rests. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the whisper of feathers under glass, the soft hiss of the pilot flame, the honey-colored light. You breathe in, you breathe out. Somewhere behind your closed eyes, the small, warm room begins to soften at its edges. The lamps blur gently into a single, warm glow. The wood grain fades. The tuner's screen becomes only a paler patch in the honey light. The feathers become only a whisper. You are not falling. You are drifting. The way the balloon drifts. The way a slow leaf drifts across a slow pond. The way a note held on a bell drifts into silence, becoming the silence, still there and no longer there, at the same time. The old man breathes. You breathe. The balloon breathes. In and out. In and out. Time here is loose. Time here is soft. A minute passes, or an hour, and it is the same minute, the same hour, the same honey-colored light. The tuner moves a pebble. The old man turns once beneath his blanket. A bell rings, so softly you cannot say if you heard it or only remembered it. The balloon drifts on. Below, a small fishing boat crosses the dark water. Its lantern is the color of the moon on old brass. It goes where it is going, unhurried. Its wake is a thin silver thread, drawn across the sea and closed again behind it. No one on the boat looks up. No one needs to. The balloon passes over, silent, warm, alone in its own small circle of honey light, and drifts on. You do not see the boat. You only sense it, the way you sense a soft thought passing through a quiet mind. Here and then gone, leaving only warmth behind. The tuner hums once, so softly it is barely a hum. A single low note held for a breath and released. It is not a song. It is only the sound the tuner makes when she is content with the trim. The brass cups are level. The lamps are steady. The feathers rest. The old man breathes. The balloon holds. You hear the hum, and something in you settles further. A last small tension in your shoulder that you did not know you were holding lets go. Your jaw softens. Your hands rest, open, wherever they rest. You are heavy. You are warm. You are held. The honey-colored light rests on your closed eyes. The cedar smell rests on your breath. The soft sway rests in your bones. You breathe in. You breathe out. Somewhere, a long way off, a bell in a small harbor tower rings. Once, so faintly, you are not sure it was a bell at all. It might have been a bird. It might have been the wind moving over the rope. It might have been the tuner, humming. It does not matter. It was a soft sound, and it is gone, and the quiet has closed around it again, as water closes around a dropped stone. The balloon drifts on. The night is long and kind. The sea below is a wide, dark cloth folded around the sleeping islands. The stars above are settled and slow. You do not need to see any of it. You only need to rest. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the whisper of feathers, the honey-colored light, the slow, slow sway. The tuner moves so softly. A wick is trimmed. A small brass knob is turned, half a turn, and turned back a whisker. The pilot flame settles. The honey-colored light warms by the smallest possible amount and settles too. The old man breathes. You breathe. The balloon breathes. A soft thought passes through your quiet mind. Something you did not finish. Some small thing you meant to do. It rises gently, like a small bubble in slow water. It hangs there for a moment. It drifts to the surface. It breaks and is gone, and leaves only the slow water behind. Another soft thought. Someone you meant to think kindly of. You do now, without effort, without words. A small warmth passes through you, and settles, and fades into the general warmth of the honey-colored room. Another. Some small worry, no larger than a moth. It flutters once at the edge of your closed eyes. The honey-colored light warms it. The soft sway calms it. It folds its wings. It rests on the wood, and then it is not there anymore. The room takes all of it, gently. The room is large enough. The night is long enough. The balloon holds enough. There is room here for every small thing you carry, and room for you to set them down. You set them down, one by one, without deciding to. They rest on the polished wood in the honey-colored light, and the tuner, in her patient way, will attend to them, or not, as they need. It is not your work now. Your work now is rest. You breathe in. You breathe out. The balloon drifts. The sea below drifts. The stars above drift, so slowly that they do not seem to move at all. And yet they do move, in their old, patient way. And by morning, they will be somewhere else in the sky, and no one will have hurried them. Nothing is hurried here. Nothing is hurried anywhere on this quiet night. The old man's blanket rises and falls. The tuner's small candle burns evenly behind her screen. The feathers rest, whispering only when the gondola sways, and even then whispering so softly that it is more like the memory of a whisper than a whisper itself. You are becoming very light, not lighter than the balloon, lighter than a thought, lighter than a feather resting on dark cloth, and also very heavy. Heavy in the way a warm stone is heavy. Heavy in the way a good blanket is heavy. Heavy in the way a body is heavy, when it has finally let itself be held. Light and heavy at once. Both. Neither. Only rest. You breathe in. You breathe out. The honey-colored light rests on your closed eyes. Cedar. Beeswax. Lavender. Somewhere very far below, a small wave folds itself onto a small shore and folds itself back. Somewhere very far above, a single star settles a little deeper into the dark. The balloon drifts between them, small and warm and lit. And you are inside. You are inside the small, warm room. The small, warm room is inside the great, quiet sky. The great, quiet sky is inside the long, slow night. And the long, slow night holds all of it, patiently, without hurry, without end. You are held. You are held. You are held. The tuner hums once. The old man sighs softly in his sleep. The pilot flame hisses so gently. The feathers whisper. You breathe in. You breathe out. Sleep is very close now. Sleep is closer than the honey-colored light. Sleep is closer than your own hands. Sleep is a soft, dark room just behind the honey-colored one, and the door between them is open, and warm air is coming through. You do not have to walk through the door. The door will come to you. The soft dark will rise gently from the polished wood and gather at your feet, and rise a little more and gather at your knees, and rise and gather at your chest, warm as a blanket, warm as a hand held above a candle, warm as the honey-colored light itself. When it reaches your closed eyes, it will not startle you. It will only deepen. The honey will darken gently into the color inside a closed lantern. The sound of the pilot flame will thin gently into the sound of your own quiet breath. The whisper of feathers will fold gently into the whisper of your own slow blood, and you will be asleep, without noticing, without deciding, only drifting, the way the balloon drifts, the way the leaf drifts, the way the bell note drifts into silence and becomes the silence. The balloon will hold. The tuner will attend. The old man will breathe. The feathers will rest, and you will rest. You breathe in. You breathe out. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the soft hiss, the soft whisper, the soft honey light. Below, the last small amber lamp on the last small island is put out gently by a hand you will never see. The island goes dark and warm and sleeps. Above, the stars keep their old slow watch. Between, the balloon drifts on. You are inside. You are safe. You are warm. You are held. The tuner turns so quietly and moves one pebble from one brass cup to another. The cups are level. The lamps are steady. The gondola sways so gently it is barely a sway. More like a breath. More like a breath. You breathe in. You breathe out. There's nothing you need to do. There's nowhere you need to be. There's nothing you need to remember. There's nothing you need to solve. There's nothing you need to carry. You have set it all down. Everything you carried has been set down gently on the polished wood in the honey-colored light. The tuner will attend to it, or not, as it needs. It is not your work now. Your work now is rest. Your only work is rest. You breathe in. You breathe out. Slowly, slowly. The honey light darkens a little. The room grows a little quieter. The tuner's small candle burns lower, patient and steady. The old man's breath is slow, slow, slow. You match your breath to his. In and out. In and out. Somewhere, very far off, a small chime sounds. Or perhaps it does not. Perhaps you only remembered a chime from earlier, from somewhere. It does not matter. The quiet closes around it, kindly, and holds it. The balloon drifts on. You are inside the small, warm room. The small, warm room is inside the great, quiet sky. The great, quiet sky is inside the long, slow night. The long, slow night holds you. You are held. Sleep now. Sleep now. The balloon will hold. The tuner will tune. The feathers will rest. The old man will breathe. The honey light will keep its warmth. The stars will keep their patient places. The islands will sleep. The sea will fold and unfold slowly, all through the night. And you will rest. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, the whisper of feathers, the soft hiss of the flame, the honey-colored light, the slow, slow sway. You breathe in and out, in and out, in and out. Sleep now, sleep now. The balloon holds you. The room holds the balloon. The night holds the room. And something older and softer than the night holds all of it, gently, without hurry, without end. You are held. You are safe. You are warm. You are home for tonight, in this small, warm room, in this quiet sky, above these sleeping islands. Rest now. Rest now. Rest and rest and rest. Cedar, beeswax, lavender, honey light, slow sway, soft breath, soft breath, soft breath. Sleep now. Sleep, sleep.